The Earth was a blue and green marble shrinking behind them, its colors slowly swallowed by the vast darkness of space. Commander Elias Vance floated weightlessly in the cockpit of the Ares 1, staring out at the planet they had left behind. It was a sight he would never forget, one that only a handful of humans had ever seen with their own eyes.
How does it feel, Commander?
Dr. Naomi Patel's voice crackled through the comms. The mission's lead biologist had secured herself near the observation window, watching Elias with an amused expression.
Surreal, he admitted. We trained for this, simulated it 100 times, but it never feels real until you're out here.
Their 6-month journey to Mars had begun. The rest of the crew, pilot Marcus Ocampo, engineer Sonia Lebedev, geologist Dr. Owen Harris, and medical officer Luca Moretti, were all settling into the routine of deep space travel. It was the longest human voyage in history, and every moment of it would test their endurance. The Ares 1 was a marvel of engineering. A combination of NASA, ESA, and private sector ingenuity, it carried everything they needed for survival. Solar sails and nuclear propulsion powered their journey, while the centrifuge module provided artificial gravity for part of each day. Supplies were meticulously rationed, and every action was planned down to the second. Weeks passed. The excitement of departure gave way to the monotony of space travel. Conversations drifted between technical discussions and personal reflections. Owen talked about the ancient Martian riverbeds they would soon walk upon. Naomi theorized about microbial life beneath the regolith, and Luca kept a close eye on everyone's health. Then came Sol 180, the day of arrival. Mars loomed ahead, a dusty red sphere in the void. The landing sequence was fully automated, but they all knew this was the most dangerous part of the mission. The thin Martian atmosphere provided little resistance, making the descent a white-knuckle ride.
Thrusters engaged,
Marcus announced, hands steady on the controls.
Entering upper atmosphere in 3, 2, 1.
A violent shudder rattled the ship as they hit the outer edge of Mars' atmosphere. Plasma flared around them, shaking the cabin. Elias held his breath, eyes locked on the display. Altitude, 80 kilometers. Velocity, too damn fast.
Heat shield holding.
Sonia reported.
Guidance systems are stable.
The Ares 1 roared downward. At 10 kilometers, parachutes deployed, yanking them into a sudden deceleration. At 2 kilometers, retro-rockets fired, guiding them toward the landing site in Jezero Crater, once home to an ancient Martian lake.
Brace for touchdown,
Elias commanded. The impact was rough but controlled. The moment the dust settled, an eerie silence filled the cabin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mars.
Cheers erupted over the comms. Years of preparation had led to this moment. They were the first humans on another planet. Donning their EVA suits, the crew prepared for their first excursion. Elias was the first to step out onto the rust-colored soil, his boots imprinting the Martian regolith. The sight was breathtaking, an endless desert of red rock and jagged cliffs beneath a salmon-pink sky.
Humanity has set foot on Mars.
He declared.
We are no longer bound to one world.
The others followed, each taking their first steps with a mix of awe and purpose. Naomi knelt and scooped up a handful of soil, letting the fine dust slip through her gloved fingers.
It's surreal. This could hold the history of an ancient world.
The crew wasted no time. Over the next several days, they worked tirelessly to establish their base. The habitat module was inflated and pressurized, solar panels were deployed for power, and supply caches sent ahead of time were retrieved and organized. Marcus and Sonia worked to ensure the lander and systems remained operational.
Solar arrays are functioning at optimal capacity. Oxygen recyclers are stable. We're good for long-term habitation.
Owen and Naomi focused on science. Owen meticulously documented rock formations, analyzing samples for signs of past water activity.
These sediments confirm a long-standing hypothesis. Jezero Crater was once a lake. The evidence is right here in my hands.
Naomi, meanwhile, ran soil experiments.
If there was ever microbial life, we'll find traces in the ice deposits. This could be the first proof of life beyond Earth.
Luca monitored everyone's health, taking careful notes of the toll Mars's lower gravity and harsh conditions took on their bodies.
So far, minor fatigue and dehydration, but nothing critical. Keep hydrated and maintain exercise routines. We need to keep our muscles from atrophying.
Each evening, they gathered in the habitat, sharing meals and logging personal messages to send back to Earth. Though physically separated from home by millions of kilometers, the unity of the crew made the isolation bearable. Then came the anomaly. It was Owen who first noticed it while mapping a canyon ridge. The drone's LiDAR scans revealed something impossible, a structure buried beneath the surface. Straight lines, geometric patterns, not natural formations.
I need everyone to see this,
Owen said, his voice shaking. The images were undeniable. Beneath the Martian dust lay the remnants of something artificial.
That's not a rock formation. That's architecture.
Their mission had just changed. They weren't the first ones here. They decided to investigate. With the sun hanging low on the Martian horizon, Elias led the team toward the anomaly. The excavation was delicate, the regolith was dense, and they couldn't risk damaging whatever lay beneath. Hours passed as they unearthed what looked like an entrance, a doorway carved from what appeared to be metallic stone, embedded deep in the canyon wall.
Sonia, can we get a structural analysis?
Elias asked, wiping sweat from his brow despite the suit's climate control. Sonia knelt beside the entrance, running her scanner over the surface.
Metallic composition, but unlike anything in our database, this isn't just old. It's ancient.
They examined the doorway closely. Strange symbols were etched into the metal, their meaning lost to time. Unlike anything from Earth, the markings pulsed faintly under their helmet lights, as though reacting to their presence.
Should we go in?
Luca asked, shifting uneasily. Elias hesitated. Every part of his training told him to proceed with caution, but the weight of discovery pressed upon him.
Monsieur, we document everything. No unnecessary risks. Marcus, Owen, and I will enter first. Naomi, Sonia, Luca. Stay at base and monitor. If we lose comms, you pull us out.
They pried the entrance open. A rush of stale air escaped, carrying a scent that was both foreign and familiar, like dust after a long-forgotten storm. The darkness beyond beckoned. Their helmet lights pierced the interior. A corridor stretched. Before them, walls lined with smooth, unnatural material. Further ahead, faint blue lights flickered in the depths, remnants of a power source long dormant, or waiting. They stepped inside. The corridor stretched before them like the throat of some ancient beast, its walls smooth and eerily unblemished by time. As they moved deeper, the air felt thick, pressing against their suits despite the vacuum seal. Their helmet lights barely pierced the oppressive gloom, casting long, trembling shadows against the strange inscriptions that lined the walls. Naomi ran her gloved fingers over the symbols.
It's a language, but not like any we've ever seen. It's not pictographic. It's mathematical, structured. It's almost like an equation, repeating in variations.
Elias checked his oxygen reserves, the numbers glowing faintly on his wrist display.
Let's keep moving. Stay close.
As they pressed forward, the passage widened into a cavernous chamber. A structure sat at its center, an obelisk, dark and foreboding, pulsing with a rhythmic glow. Around it, massive columns stretched toward the ceiling, etched with the same cryptic symbols. The obelisk hummed faintly, the sound resonating through their bones. Then, the glow intensified. Something was waking up. Elias held his breath as the pulsing light from the obelisk bathed the chamber in an ethereal glow. The hum resonated deeper, vibrating through the very fabric of their suits, conjuring an uneasy feeling in the pit of his stomach.
Get the recording devices online,
he instructed, his voice steady despite the anxiety coursing through him. Owen nodded, quickly pulling out a small device.
I've never seen energy readings like this. It's as if the obelisk is generating power, almost as if it's alive.
He directed the scanner toward the structure, adjusting its parameters. As he did, the meter surged into the red.
Watch those readings. We don't want to provoke anything.
Marcus, standing close to the obelisk, shifted his weight in the thick silence.
What if this is some kind of energy source? We might unlock something incredible.
His eyes sparkled with excitement, but Elias noticed a flicker of uncertainty in his expression. The obelisk flared in response to Marcus's proximity, more intense now. The pulsing glow shifted from deep blue to a brilliant shade of violet. Suddenly, glimmers of light began weaving through the air, forming shapes and patterns around them. Holographic projections of what looked like star maps interspersed with incomprehensible equations.
Damn. This isn't just an artifact. It's a repository of knowledge, or a map.
The moment hung in the air, fraught with possibility. Elias felt a swell of hope and dread battling within him. What lay behind this discovery? A means to communicate with another civilization or a warning from those who had come before? Before, he could voice his concerns. An echoing sound resonated through the chamber. The vibrations intensified, and the chamber trembled slightly. All lights flickered, momentarily plunging them into darkness before the ambient glow returned, now pulsating at a faster rate.
We should leave.
Luca urged, his voice steady yet tinged with urgency.
Whatever this is, it's unstable.
No, wait!
Elias turned toward the obelisk, feeling an undeniable pull, an urge to understand. He stepped closer, drawn by an unseen force.
We can't just walk away. We need to document everything.
Owen began taking readings, his fingers flying over his device.
The symbols are changing. Look.
The walls around them seemed to shimmer as though responding to Elias's presence. Elias focused his attention on the obelisk, mentally wrestling with his instincts to fear the unknown.
What if this is the key to understanding our place in the universe? We can't squander this opportunity.
As he stood on the precipice of discovery, the obelisk's pulsing light surged once more. The holograms shifted, revealing a star system they hadn't seen before. A constellation of unknown celestial bodies shimmering in the ether, each star pulsing in sync with the rhythms of the obelisk.
Commander!
Marcus called out, urgency rising in his tone.
Look at the fourth star. There's something unusual.
Elias glanced back just as a holographic image materialized, resolving into a planet that bore an eerie resemblance to Earth, with sprawling oceans and lush green continents. Their home had been a dot in the rearview mirror for too long, and now here was something that looked intimately familiar, yet profoundly alien.
This could be another Earth. A second chance for humanity.
Suddenly, the chamber rattled violently, the obelisk's hum swelling into a deafening roar. The holograms flickered, becoming unstable. A warning blared from their helmets, the oxygen monitors dipping as the atmosphere within the enclosure quickly began to shift.
Time to go!
Elias shouted above the noise, snapping Marcus and Owen out of their reverie. The team bolted toward the entrance, scrambling through the corridor, their hearts racing. The walls trembled, releasing dust and debris that coated their suits in a grimy layer. They sprinted, the world around them falling apart as the ancient structure awakened, both furious and alive.
Luca, do you copy?
Luca, do you copy?
Elias shouted into the comms, desperation creeping into his tone.
I hear you. Are you okay?
Luca's voice crackled through, the sound a beacon of hope amidst the chaos.
Not yet. We're on our way. Prep for emergency extraction on our signal.
As they neared the entrance, the ground beneath them shuddered as if protesting their exit. Sonia's voice joined the fray, filled with urgency.
We have to stabilize the entry. I'm trying to override the systems.
Elias and Marcus reached the door, flinging it open as they burst into the Martian twilight, gasping at the thin, frigid air. They were met by the sight of their base, illuminated against the dark red landscape. The whirring of the emergency protocol, activated as they dashed inside. With a quick glance back, Elias saw the obelisk's light flickering furiously behind them, threatening to collapse the whole canyon in a violent finale.
Contact established. I'm initiating lockdown on systems.
Elias, breathless and terrified, turned toward his crew.
We have to debrief as soon as we're stable. We need to analyze what we just witnessed.
He started, but before he could finish, the ground trembled deeper, and a shudder passed through the base. Then, silence returned, heavy and foreboding. The sense that something monumental had happened, or was about to happen, hung thick in the air. Within the confines of their newly established base, the crew gathered around the central table, the weight of their discovery suffocating yet intoxicating. Monitors flickered with live feeds of the prior moments, capturing their hurried escape and the fantastic glow of the obelisk.
Commander, we need to process what we've seen and felt. The obelisk, it wasn't just a relic. It may have awakened something.
Or it may have been dormant for a reason.
Luca added, running a hand through his hair, nervous energy radiating through him. Owen adjusted his glasses, still trying to make sense of the readings.
The energy signatures weren't just unique, they were massive. If they collapsed the way it seemed they might, we could be looking at a Martian disaster. Or worse, we might have attracted attention,
Marcus said, echoing a thought that had crossed all their minds.
This was not just a random archaeological find. We need to consider the possibility that we are not alone in the universe. We may have inadvertently reactivated our predecessor's technology, and it may have implications for us far beyond what we understand.
Every second counts. We must secure the site and gather intelligence before anyone else does. There's too much at stake here. If we're good, we might be able to contain it.
Elias nodded, carefully weighing his words.
First, let's gather all data regarding the anomaly before we contact Mission Control. We don't want to launch into a panic before we know exactly what we're dealing with. We will present our findings when it's justified, and our footing is secure.
As the crew scattered to their stations, Elias gazed out toward the Martian horizon, the looming red cliffs a jagged silhouette against the star-speckled sky. They had crossed a threshold. Now it was only a matter of time before the universe would respond. In that moment, he felt an echo of the resonance from the obelisk, a whisper in the silence. The universe was vast and unknown, and humanity's first step on Mars was just the beginning of a far longer journey. The days following their harrowing discovery were a blur of activity and tension. The crew meticulously analyzed the data extracted from their encounter with the obelisk. Each scan, each holographic projection, revealed more about the enigmatic structure, but it was Owen's findings that proved the most significant.
We're not looking at just one map. These routes, it's a network. The obelisk appears to be a central node in a larger system. It connects multiple celestial bodies, possibly indicating travel routes or even locations of significant interest to whoever built this.
Could there be more out there?
Naomi asked, her excitement barely contained as she scanned the infographics around the conference table.
Absolutely. And I believe the pulsations we recorded might be a form of communication or navigation signaling.
Feeling a mix of wonder and caution, Elias decided it was time to act decisively. He gathered the crew and planned their next set of explorations. They would attempt to send a signal to the repository, theorizing that replicating its energy pattern could establish a connection. As they worked, they noticed subtle changes in the Martian environment. Dust storms intensified, and odd fluctuations in temperature were recorded, as if something beneath the surface was stirring in response to their actions. On Sol 183, they finally felt ready.
Okay, team.
Elias said, positioning himself in front of the makeshift control panel.
Let's see if we can tap into this energy itself. Naomi, Sonia, prepare the resonance modifiers. Marcus, keep an eye on the energy levels. Owen, you're on data capture.
With synchronized movements born of teamwork, the crew stepped into their roles. Elias initiated the sequence, activating the resonance modifiers they had cobbled together from scraps of their equipment. A hum began to resonate in the air, reminiscent of the obelisk's pulse. The lights in the habitat flickered, and the monitors displayed rising energy levels, first slowly, then rapidly escalating.
Steady! We're reaching critical levels.
Suddenly, the monitors erupted into chaos. Blinking lights and fluctuating graphs bombarded their senses. But in the midst of the chaos, a signal suddenly stabilized, coalescing into a visual form on the primary screen. A holographic star map, spinning in midair, revealing countless points of light. Before they could fully comprehend it, a deep rumble vibrated through the base. The floor trembled and everything shook violently. Alarms blared, and the air was filled with a low, sonorous hum.
Get to the door.
Elias shouted over the noise. But as they turned to flee, silence fell abruptly, swallowing the cacophony of alarms. Instinctively, they looked up, frozen in place. Where the holographic projections once flickered, a vivid light now enveloped the chamber. A beam of radiance shot upward, bursting through the base's ceiling and into the Martian sky, igniting the atmosphere with colors unseen in the Martian night. In that moment, it was as if time itself paused. The crew stood transfixed, their hearts racing, as the beam of light continued toward the stars, a visible link between Earth and the infinite cosmos beyond. Then, one by one, spheres of light began to emerge from the beam, circling the base like agitated fireflies, casting alien shadows across their astonished faces. The spheres danced playfully, illuminating the landscape beyond, revealing outlines of figures projected against the Martian surface. The crew from the Ares 1 could barely breathe.
What is happening?
Luca whispered, his eyes wide with fear. Without warning, the figures coalesced into forms recognizable yet profoundly alien. They resembled humans, but were distinct, their skin shimmering like stars and their eyes reflecting an array of colors. One stepped forward, standing before the crew, its form pulsing with power and radiance.
I am Elarath.
The figure spoke, voice resonating like the hum that had filled the chamber moments before.
We have awaited your arrival for eons.
The crew exchanged stunned glances, hearts racing with both fear and exhilaration. The realization of what lay before them dawned. They hadn't just discovered an artifact, they had opened a doorway to another dimension, and perhaps a lineage, that expanded far beyond human comprehension. Elias, unable to find words, finally managed to ask,
Who are you?
Guardians of the cosmos. We seeded many worlds, including your own. A purpose long forgotten by your kind. You possess the key, the knowledge we shared with your ancestors. But the time for secrecy is no longer necessary. We come to guide you and awaken the truth within your world.
Behind Elarath, the remaining spheres organized themselves into a magnificent star map that expanded into a three-dimensional space, detailing numerous worlds interlinked across the reach of the galaxy.
But why now? Why us?
Naomi questioned, stepping forward with a mixture of curiosity and caution.
Because your kind stands upon the precipice of discovery. You can either forge a collaborative future among the stars, or let fear and ignorance bind you. We are here to help you choose wisely. A reckoning comes, and with it, the chance for salvation.
The crew glanced at one another, understanding washing over them. This moment would change everything. Their mission, once born of exploration, had transformed into an invitation to unite with a lost heritage.
What will it be?
Elias felt the weight of history upon him, and for the first time since they left Earth, he felt truly alive. They had come to Mars seeking answers and discovery, but now they stood at the threshold of an empire of knowledge, ready to reclaim their place among the stars.
Together.
He finally spoke, his voice steady and resolute.
We choose together.
As the alien beings began to extend their hands in invitation, the obelisk pulsed again, this time more harmoniously, as if binding their fates forever. The crew felt the world around them open in ways unimaginable, the universe suddenly expanding, beyond the limits of their understanding. In that pulse of light, something magnificent and terrifying shifted in the cosmos, and a journey spanning centuries rekindled in that single defining moment. Humanity was no longer alone. The light enveloped them, and with it came an awakening that would forever ripple through the fabric of existence, propelling not just their crew, but all of humanity toward a destiny written among the stars.
Thank you for listening to my short story. If you enjoyed it, please like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any more.